A Minot murder trial, more than 3 years in the making, will continue into a second week. Today, the state heard lengthy testimony from investigators in the case. The state rested its case Friday against Donald Cooper Jr. in the January 2020 death of Dominic Stevens in Minot, but not before calling a pair of Minot police investigators to the stand, including the lead on the case.
The state calls Sergeant Detective Sumlin.
Detective Robbie Sumlin broke down surveillance footage the state claims shows the vehicle Cooper was in pursuing and firing at the vehicle Stevens was driving before Stevens crashed into a statue on the Minot State campus.
Started in the area of 21st and 16th Street Northwest, over by North Hill Marketplace. Went down 20th Ave to Terrace Drive. It's kind of like a loop. Went down to 13th Street Northwest. They went eastbound on 11th Ave Northwest, and ultimately that's where Stevens' vehicle ended up crashing and the Ford Focus turned off.
The testimony from Sumlin, as well as Detective Carmen Asham, drew out contention between the state and the defense over the evidence.
I object to cumulative photographs.
Did you know that he lied to you at that time?
Judge, objection.
Objection assumes facts, not in evidence.
We also learned that Michael Dennis II, a co-defendant who refused to take the stand Thursday or even invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, was officially held in contempt of court. Prosecutor Tiffany Sorgan saying he'll remain in custody in Minot for now, but his lack of testimony will not impede the trial. Dennis is already serving 20 years for his role in Stevens' death. Now, after the state rested, the defense attorney Jeff Bradall moved that the charges be dismissed, but Judge Gary Lee declined. Bradall will have the chance to call witnesses, though, before both sides give closing arguments. That trial resumes Monday morning.